boys and girls, viewers of all ages. Welcome back to the show, Just My Thoughts. I am, as always, your host, Erick Daniel Coughlin. And tonight's main agenda on the Thought Tracker is how good are the Bears? Is it way too late for the Bears? And what exactly is going on with the Bears? So we're going to break all that down. And so, first of all, I want to go on and let you guys know. So we last week was week 10, which means there's only 8 weeks left, which means there's only 7 games left, right? We got a bye week coming up. So that being said, what the rest of our schedule is looking like, it goes in terms of this. We have Detroit bye week. We have Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland. Then we have Atlanta, Arizona, Green Bay. So let me just break this down in a way I always like to break this down. And I kind of touched on it a little bit last night as I was watching my Bulls game, and my Bulls were letting me down as always. It's just until we fire Billy Donovan, they're always going to let me down. And at this point, I'm already like okay with whatever the fuck happens. Like if we lose DeMar DeRozan, I'm okay with that. We lose Zach LaVine, I'm okay with that. But we're not talking about the Bulls tonight. We did that last week. This week we're talking about the Bears. So this is how I see this. Because Detroit is sitting at the top of our division for the first time in a long, long time, maybe like the second time in franchise history for Detroit. They've really never been ever at the top of our division. We all know that. It's always either been Green Bay. Sometimes we've gotten lucky. Sometimes Minnesota's gotten lucky. But it's pretty much primarily my entire life of 35 years. It's been Green Bay. I think Detroit's done it one time. I think in 2010. I need to rewind the clock and do a little bit of history, but I think they've only won the division once in my life, and it was like a freak incident. And it also happened to be a year that Aaron Rodgers had like torn his fucking rotator cuff. He missed 10 games and blah, 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 blah. And for whatever reason, I don't know why we didn't get to capitalize, but we just didn't. And they were making a huge thing about Megatron in that day. And, they were making a big stink about Matthew Stafford being the real deal. And needless to say, in my life, they may have only been at the top once. This would make the second time. So saying that, let's just stay on track now. That Detroit is at top, and they're 7-3 in the NFL right now. They're coming up on a bye week. Actually, I think this week might have been their bye week. I'm not even sure if Detroit played Sunday. So last week, no, I said this week, but I meant last week. So this is how I see this. I see this, them taking us lightly, them being, having their heyday parade and laughing it up and talking about, oh, we're the real deal and no one took us serious. Look at us now, blah blah blah. Like they're in fantasy land because they're in uncharted territory. They're not anywhere where they're supposed to be. And so what I see this going down as. Hard-fought game by us because our defense is finally healthy. We have Eddie Jackson. We have Kyler Gordon. We have Jalen Johnson. How you doing? Jack Sanborn's doing his thing. And I've already stated this once on the podcast. I'll state this again. TJ Edwards is second leading tackler in the NFL right now. So we're coming into our zone. Oh, and the Montez Sweat deal came through for us. Hey, remember a couple of episodes back, I told you guys that if I were Ryan Poles, that I would get on the phone with Washington because Washington had really great players. Well, Ryan Poles did get onto the phone with Washington and got one of those really great players. So kudos to me for being an awesome football wizard, a guy that just watches so much football. He just sees talent and knows where it's at and knows how to get deals done. Good job, Mr. C. Appreciate that. So that's another reason why you guys should be watching my show almost always, because first of all, for all of you who don't know me personally and just stumble across my page and my show, I live in Corinth, Mississippi, a small town nowhere, Mississippi. But I was born in Chicago. I moved down here in 98, if I'm not mistaken. I was a 10-year-old boy when I got shipped down to Mississippi. And however, so I grew up a Bears fan. I stayed a Bears fan. I flirted with Cincinnati. I'm still flirting with Cincinnati. Something about the way their jerseys look. I love their jerseys. I love the defense that they play. I love the fact that all my life they find franchise guys. So I've already said that on the podcast 1,000 times. I am a Chicago Bear through and through, but I also like Cincinnati. That's always going to happen. Hey, newsflash, I'm 35. So when I'm 56, guess what? I'm going to be a Chicago Bears fan, and I'm also going to like Cincinnati. I am who I am. I stay who I always going to be. I don't change. I don't even like change. So just telling you guys who I am. So back to the story and back to the predictions for the rest of the season, because we're not just talking about this week. We're talking about the rest of the season. That's why I gave you the rest of the games. I see us beating Detroit this weekend. What? I said I see us beating Detroit this weekend. I just told you my defense is healthy. Even if Tremaine Edmonds is the only guy that doesn't come out and play, that's perfectly fine because of the rest of the team is going to, make up and do great. So we can lose Tremaine like we have already. He's already been gone for 3 games, and it really hasn't stopped us defensively. And that's for the likes of Jack Sanborn. How you doing? I told you guys that's going to be my next big jersey, Jack Sanborn, 57. I love that guy. So this is how I see it, though. It is going to be a tight game. It's going to be an interesting game, and I think we're going to win with about, I don't know, maybe 23 seconds left in the game, 24-21 Chicago Bears. And then heading into the bye with all high hopes and generated great feelings, right? We're going to be feeling great about ourselves. And then coming out of the bye, going and playing Minnesota, we're going to prove to them and prove to ourselves and then prove to the rest of the NFL world that what happened earlier in the season was never supposed to happen anyway. Minnesota had to cheat by the likes of the referees to beat us. And that's the truth. So they better hope that they got their referees in their pockets again, because if they don't, they're going to get their asses kicked. Newsflash, it's going to be easier this time around. What? What'd you just say? I just said it's going to be easier this time around. First of all, last time we played them, they had Justin Jefferson. Guess who's not going to be there? Justin Jefferson. Last time we played them, they had Kirk Cousins. Guess who's not going to be there? Kirk Cousins. Arguably, they gotten worse. Arguably, it's going to be a lot easier game. It's not going to be the same game it was 3 weeks ago when they barely fucking beat us. They cheated to beat us 3 weeks ago. They're not going to have the playmakers that they had 3 weeks ago. Therefore, ergo, Mr. Coughlin says, we annihilate them motherfuckers. What? I said we annihilate those motherfuckers, and we're going to do it in a high fashion form, 31-10. Do I really believe that? Absolutely. Why do you believe that, Eric? Well, this is the reason why I believe that, because first of all, when we played Washington, we beat them by a hefty score. When we played Denver, even though we lost, we scored a hefty score. We have scored when we dominated Oakland with a hefty score. So everyone in the league wants to laugh at the Bears, but the Bears have scored over 30 points 3 times, which is not saying a lot compared to the rest of the league. But when you're 3-7 and everyone says you're the worst team in the NFL, if you're the worst team in the NFL and you're still scoring over 30 points multiple times, odds are you're really not that bad. You've just been catching bad breaks. That's exactly our case. We've been catching a lot of bad breaks. We've been dealing with a lot of injuries. We've been getting fucked by a lot of referees. Oh, newsflash. When we played LA Chargers, they beat us 30-13. Everyone's like, what the fuck? You guys got your asses kicked. But what no one's talking about is actually that would have been a 30-30 game. What? What are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about. They called DJ Moore out of bounds on a wide open fly route. He did not step out of bounds, and they stopped him from scoring a touchdown. So that would have been 7 extra points. Then, ergo, we threw a 15-yard inside post to my man Cole Kmet. It took 3 defenders to try to take him down. He spun broke off of 3 defenders, had absolutely nobody in his way. Running up the field, guess what the referees do? Whistle him dead. Said it's forward progress. Stopped him from scoring 7 points. And then my man Cairo Santos, I love this guy. Earlier in the year on the podcast, I made a statement that Cairo Santos might be our greatest player on our team. He missed a 37-yard field goal that night. What? Yes. So that's 17 points that we stopped ourselves from scoring. We stopped ourselves from scoring 3 points. The referee stopped us from scoring 14 points. If you add the 14 points to the 13 points, that's 27 points. And then you add that field goal, that's actually again 30 points. That big number that I keep on saying. So that's exactly what I think is going to happen in the Minnesota game this time around. 31-10, whipping the shit out of them. And then guess what? So then Detroit rolls back into town, right? They're like, hey, yo, we want our motherfucking revenge. You think you're better than us? Fucking prove it. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to fucking prove it. Like we've done all my life. So in my life, I have rarely seen the Detroit Lions beat my Chicago Bears, even when we're good, even when we're bad. It doesn't matter if we're a playoff team, if we're an 8-8 team, if we're a 6-10 team. It doesn't matter what our record is. In my lifetime, I think I've only seen Detroit beat me 4 times in 35 years. So do I fear Detroit? No, I'm not supposed to. Anytime they've ever beat me has been by luck, and that luck is going to run out. Why? Because we're healthy. Why? Because we're better than what we have been in recent years. And why? Because it's the fucking Detroit Lions. Do your history. Look up Lions games versus Chicago Bears games over 35-year span, and you tell me how many times they beat us. It's not a lot. I don't even think it's a handful. Again, I think 4 times. Maybe I'm stretching the truth. They might have got us 6 times, but we're talking about 30 fucking years, ladies and gentlemen. Detroit don't want none. They ain't never want none, and they ain't going to know what to do whenever we hit them in the mouth twice and knock them out of the playoff race. What? Knock them out of the playoff race by the monsters of Midway. And then by then everyone's going to be like, oh shit, did we write off the Bears way too soon? Oh my God, are the Bears actually back? Hey, what's going on in the NFC North? Everyone's losing except for the Bears. Because that's going to be a conversation in the next 3 weeks. Mark my words on that. Then what happens after we get our, slobber knocker over with Detroit? Oh, I didn't give you guys a score, so let me give you guys a score. So the first time I told you 24-21, hard-fought game. Then I told you we're going to beat the living shit out of Minnesota. Believe that. Now, how we're going to handle Detroit the second time round? Same as the way we did the first time round. Same way we have my entire life. We're going to beat Detroit 28-17. What? I'll repeat it. 28-17. And now we're on fire. And now the league is talking about us. And now everyone's just a little bit scared. But we get the, confidence to roll into Cleveland. And Cleveland's on the high horse. I told you guys about that anyway. If you want to do some research, you don't have to do any research anywhere except for on this channel. Go back and watch my old episodes. I've told you Cleveland Browns were the real deal. I'm going to continue to tell you that the Cleveland Browns are the real deal. Even on the very first episode of Just My Thoughts, I told you guys the Cleveland Browns are not a trash team in the NFL. Guess what they are right now? Right now they're the 3rd seed in the play. If the playoffs were to start tomorrow, Cleveland Browns are the 3rd seed in the AFC. I told you they're the real deal. But this is what's going to happen in that game. So they're going to run in there, because everyone loves them. Their fan base is going crazy. The whole NFL league is talking about them. Their defense is incredible. But what they're not telling you is their offense kind of sucks, right? So they're going to be on the high horse. They're going to be like, well, you know what? This is Chicago. Let's just run up the scoreboard. What? You're the Cleveland Browns. You're going to do what? Well, we're going to run up the scoreboard. So they're going to try to stretch the field. They're going to try to have a heyday with Amari Cooper. And mind you, they're going to try to have a heyday with Kareem Hunt because Kareem Hunt has always been like their ace in the hole. And then, they got Nick Chubb, so they didn't need him no more. Well, then Nick Chubb gets hurt, so now they need him all over again. So, again, they think that's their ace in the hole. And then they think they got a star-studded quarterback, Deshaun Watson. What? I'm laughing because I've never thought in my entire life that Deshaun Watson was a star-studded quarterback. So, again, they're going to go in there with high emotions, and we're going to go in there with fear, ferocity. And guess what's going to happen? We are going to be the team to go in there and punch them motherfuckers in the mouth in their home fucking field and be like, hey, guess what? You guys are the Cleveland Browns. We're going to win that game 28-24. And now we're really, really, really on fire. And now we got the benefit of the doubt with the last 3 games, and everybody really has to take us serious as we roll into Chicago and we take on the Atlanta Falcons. Guess what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. Let me tell you, that's going to be our breakout game right before the playoffs come. I'm gonna spit a stat you guys are not even going to want to believe. 52-17. What? Yes, I believe that my team can score 52 points, and yes, I believe my defense can stop Atlanta shitty Falcons from 21. Yes, 52-17, and the whole world is going to be like, holy fuck, where has this been all year long? And the answer to that question is, it's been on injury reserve. That's where that's been. Then, rolling in to finish up the season, we get to face one of my favorite teams in my life, and we have a very solid record against this team in my life. We get to go to Arizona, which is a good field to play on. They play inside of a dome. There's no weather effect. And we get to play the shitty Arizona Cardinals. And again, to show everyone it's not a fluke, 48-10. What? I said we're going into Arizona week 16. And we're going to win 48-10. Ladies and gentlemen, as we finish the season in Wisconsin, going to Green Bay, our last chance to get our revenge and our last chance to prove whose division this really is. I see us walking away from that game 35. What are you talking about? I'm talking about that's still a good score. 35-24, because they're going to give us their all. They're going to really try to beat us. They want to make sure that we don't make the playoffs. If they beat us, odds are we'll miss the playoffs. So guess what's going to happen? They're not going to beat us. And we are going to make the playoffs with a 10-7 record. And even though I said we were going to be 12-5 when we finished 10-7, that means I was only wrong by 2 games. That's still pretty fucking impressive. Way to go, Mr. Coughlin. Thank you, Mr. Coughlin. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, too. So the very last game of the season, 35-24, the Bears over the fucking Packers. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will secure my division. That, ladies and gentlemen, will make the Chicago Bears winners of the NFC North in 2023, just like I predicted. And that, ladies and gentlemen, even though I said we would be undefeated in the division, we will only have 2 division losses, which is still pretty fucking good. We'll be 4-2 in the division. 1 game was a blowout. First game of the year, we just wasn't ready. Justin Fields really choked it up. And, the Vikings bought a game back in late October. Sometimes games are for sale. Sometimes you can just pay off a ref, and that's exactly what happens. So even though we won't be going undefeated in the division, we'll still be winning the division, and we'll still be talked about as a team to fear. Could you imagine going on this tear streak? So not only the next 7 games, but we also just won a game, right? So that'd be an 8-game win streak going into the playoffs. And we'll still have to play in the wild card round, right? So that means that we'll be matched up against somebody. Let's just say, this is going to be putting myself on the spot because I haven't really broke down my playoff predictions yet. So I'm going to say that we'll be floating around maybe Dallas or maybe Seattle. And either which way, I think we spank both those fucking teams. I don't think we're going to stop at the wild card round. I think we're going to continue the hot streak, win the wild card round, go into the division round. I think we're going to win again. By the second round, it'll still be within those 2 teams. It'll still, or maybe even Tampa Bay. By that, the wild card may fall into Tampa Bay. It may be Chicago versus Tampa Bay rematch of early in the year. I think we played Tampa Bay in week 3. They kicked our ass, but that was a game we were supposed to win. If you guys watched a couple episodes back, I gave you a list of games that we should have won. Tampa Bay was one of them. So we'll get that rematch, and I think that we'll kick their fucking ass. Going into the second round, it may be, Seattle, maybe Dallas, either which way. I think we kick their fucking ass, and then we march ourselves from the worst team in the NFL all the way into the NFC Championship game, the Chicago Bears versus the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, I do believe San Francisco goes all the way to the NFC Championship game. I don't think they're going to slow down anytime soon. I don't really think that no one can really handle what they bring to the table. You have to understand that's Christian McCaffrey. That's Debo Samuel. That's Brock Purdy. That's George Kittle. Yeah, they and a electrifying defense. Yes, an electrifying defense. So they bring a whole lot to the table. It'd be ridiculous to think that they're not going to be in the NFC Championship game, and it'd be ridiculous to think they're not going to be facing the Chicago Bears. What? What about Philadelphia? What about Philadelphia? It's Jalen Hurts' show. And you shut down Jalen Hurts, and you look at their offense. What does he do? He throws the ball to one guy all day, every day. You lock down their number one receiver. You put pressure on him. You sack him. You make him try to beat you. Odds are they're not going to the NFC Championship game, and they are not going to the Super Bowl, and they are not the best team in the NFC. But people got to get over it. They want to believe that Philadelphia is the number one team. No, they're not. San Francisco is until they meet the Chicago Bears. Let me tell you something. Last year, we only won 3 games, right? Well, we started the season with a win, right? You know who that team was that we played in week 1? We played the San Francisco 49ers. You know what we did? We beat them. So, when we march ourselves all the way into the NFC Championship game and we're facing the San Francisco 49ers, we don't have to ask ourselves anything. We already know how to win. Eric, what are you saying? I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for this because I told you guys months ago, and I'm telling you guys again. I see the Chicago Bears going to the Super Bowl this year. Maybe not as a 12-5 record, maybe as a 10-7 record, but my predictions stay the same. I still believe that we're going to be a Super Bowl team, and this is the reason why. For many of reasons, we've been losing games. All those reasons have been resolved. We're not hurt anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We're 1,000% healthy. If anyone doesn't play, it's primarily the sake of Matt Eberflus not liking the player. At this point, everyone's back. Khalil Herbert. If Khalil Herbert's not the starter, that's because Matt Eberflus doesn't want Khalil Herbert to start. Tough luck. And let's make an argument right here. How do you give the starting job to Khalil Herbert after everything Dante Foreman's done in the last month? In the last month, he's proven that maybe he should have been the starter all year long. All right. Now, then you look at wide receiver core. We're going to start stretching the field now that Justin Fields is back. Now that we can get the long ball, you better believe that Darnell Mooney's production goes up. What? Yes. For the last 3 years, Justin Fields only had one guy to throw to. Guess who that one guy was? Darnell Mooney. So now Darnell Mooney finally gets to show up. Now, DJ Moore's long ball home run finally gets to show up. Now, we get to stretch the field whenever it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, nobody's open. Now we got a quarterback that's going to run 25 yards, first down, moving the chains. How you doing? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the show we've been waiting for all year long, it's going to start as soon as Sunday. You better be ready, Detroit, because we already are. The fan base is ready. The team is ready. The coaches are ready. Everyone is ready. So if you think that you're just going to kick our ass because you're sitting at the top of the division, you better think again, and you better do your fucking homework because you ain't really known how to kick our ass ever. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the show, you like what you heard, you enjoyed what you see, always feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling generous, always feel free to cash at me, Erick Daniel Coughlin, #Coughlin Pride. Have a nice day.